I'm Mr. WOLE-OJOMO, and this is All Things HR. Everyone, irrespective of status or gender, wants to live a life of impact, a life of significance. But this doesn't happen by accident. It happens by living intentionally or living a life of intentionality. To help us take a deep dive into what it means by living a life of intentionality is a seasoned professional. I call him the coach of coaches and the mentor of mentors. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Usen. Usen Udo is a seasoned HR and business leader. He is currently an independent consultant to corporate and government agencies. His cross-industry experience and skills span human resource management, corporate direction setting, organization review and enterprise business transformation, implementation of policies, processes, procedures, projects, and program management. Usen is a well-rounded, multi-talented C-level executive, an executive coach, an avid community builder, a people developer, father, husband, teacher, and mentor. It's good to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Justin.
Oh, fantastic. When really looking at the topic of living intentionally in 2023, and a lot of people have good intentions, but there's a difference between good intentions and living with intentions. Can you tell us the difference?
First of all, let me say thank you for being so patient. I know we've tried so hard multiple times to pull this together. I'm glad we're finally having this. When you gave me the topic and I spent some time researching it, when you use the phrase intentional, and I'm thinking about intentionality, the kinds of thoughts, the kinds of phrases, adjectives that come to mind, people who are intentional, you think of things like people who are calculated, people who are deliberate, people who are very carefully planned, willful, who are purposeful. If you even don't go with all the other words I went with, the very last word, purposeful. Intentionality is about being driven by purpose. And so when you ask me who is intentional, who are people that are intentional, who are those living with intention, I think the first thing you want to really look at is people who understand their why. What's their purpose? What are they trying to do? And when you have purpose, it means you therefore are motivated to go into action, to act to deliver that purpose. And action by definition means you'll have a plan with specific deadlines, milestones that you can celebrate, that you can be happy about. When you have that, milestones, deadlines with time, driving towards a purpose, then you are very intentional. And without realizing it or without really thinking too hard about it, if you live your life that way, you will end up being very intentional. You'll be living very intentionally, and the goals would speak for themselves.
For those who just have good intentions, how can they begin to live intentional lives? You know, some people just have the desire, but they are not doing anything about it. How can they begin to live intention?
You know, if we go back to where I started from, so many people have good intentions. By definition, the vast majority of people are good. Yes, there are a few people who are exceptional, who go out of their way to be bad. But for the vast majority of us, we have good intentions. But if you now want to live intentionally, you are basically talking about some of the attributes, some of the behaviors that would deliver on your good intentions. Those behaviors require discipline and staying with it. That discipline and staying with it is what distinguishes those who just have good intentions but are not willing to act, and those who have good intentions and are willing to do the work that would deliver the intentions consistently. Sometimes you can do your goal, you can walk your goal and deliver occasionally. You become very inconsistent. People are not quite sure exactly where to place you. And that may come across as not living intentionally. But when you are using the phrase intentionally, what comes across to me is someone who is consistent in playing out a script, acting out or working to a purpose, and doing it very, very consistently. That is intentionality. So when you are asking that, how can someone who has good intentions truly now live their life intentionally? It comes back to what we're saying. Be clear about what it is you want to deliver on. Be purposeful about it. Put a plan behind it and work the plan.
Fantastic. Some of the principles of intentional living include having clarity of purpose, just like you have said, and also defining your priorities and living by priorities. But research shows that 80% of people do not even have their priorities written out or defined at all. How do you, what's your advice to people, and how do people begin to get on that track of having their priorities defined?
A very good question. You're asking me things that we are all guilty of. This is something that we're all guilty of. There are a number of habits that are absolutely crucial if you want to be intentional. I think the first one is that you need to have a clarity of vision, a clarity of goal. And the best way to achieve that is to actually write the goal. I don't know if that reminds you of Habakkuk 2:2. But if it does, so be it. You need to write the goal down. It has to be very specific. In the different quadrants or spheres of my life, whichever area of your life you're talking about where you want to be intentional, write down the goal. And like you said, while you can say 80% of the people don't set goals and all that, only 3% of those who even set it actually write it down. The first discipline is write it down. It's only when you've written it down that you can then fine-tune it, and then you can bring clarity to it because you're visiting it daily. That is absolutely crucial, writing that down and then being very clear about it. And in scripting that, it will help you be very clear about your why. What's the purpose? What am I trying to be like this for? What is the purpose behind this vision, this goal? Purpose is what enables you keep going at it when the applause has died down, when people are not there to hail you, and the going is tough. Purpose keeps you focused. And you achieve that better when you write down the things and you're very clear about it. The fourth one, and probably the most important, is if you go through those three things, you write it down, you're very, very sharp and clear about it, you know your why, the purpose behind it, it's easier for you to now do the fourth thing, which is to constantly ritualize the end game. You are not there, you're on a journey to doing something, to being something. You're not there yet, but mentally in your head, you can smell it, you can touch it, you can see the picture, you know the moment, you know the feel of success, of having delivered it. You can visualize it so vividly. And it's one of the things I teach in my course. Dissonance is resolved in the direction of the most vivid image. Dissonance is always resolved in the direction of the most vivid image. Dissonance is what helps you drive creativity. In any circumstance in life, there's always the current reality, which is staring you in the face, what you're struggling with, what you're dealing with. It's current, it's there, you live it, you smell it every day. But that's not your vision. That is not your goal. Your goal is something that is in the future, that is very futuristic. If you cannot make the image of your goal more vivid than your current reality, you would always dwell in current reality. Because your reality, the facts of your case, your creativity, what causes you to cause things to be, would always be resolved in the direction of the more vivid image. And your current reality is already starting off with an advantage. You are in it.
Some people, they don't even see the vision. They haven't taken time out to.
And therefore they cannot resolve in that direction. And therefore you can't deliver it.
How do such people who have not taken time out to see the end goal, see the vision, what's your advice for such people? What can they do?
They need to take the time out. You absolutely need to take time out and say, my existence on this earth, what is it about? What do I do best? What do I enjoy doing? What is it that I wouldn't do for free all day long that brings value to humanity?
For some people who do not see the picture at all, they don't see the vision, what should they do? And why? I think that should be the first question. Why are there people who do not even see the vision at all? And for those who do not see, what should they do?
Yeah, see, your questions are always multiple loaded and there are multiple barrels. Let me unpack that by starting off with why don't people set goals and set vision? Why don't they go through that effort? Why is it so seemingly difficult? Maybe not the most appealing thing to do. I think probably the primary reason is fear. And I know when I say fear, people are saying, oh, it's the fear of failure. The fear of failure is actually secondary. It's actually the fear of success. People, without realizing it, without intending it, are actually fearful of success. They are not quite sure of how they will handle themselves if their circumstances change, even when it's changing for the positive. And so, without intending to, they are subconsciously, constantly sabotaging themselves. And they dwell in that constant circle of failure that they become comfortable with it and they can't break out of it. So that fear of success, which is not very overt, is there, and it holds people back. You become very comfortable in your less than optimal state, that even the thought of changing the environment, changing the scenario, changing your life story is scary. And you don't really realize it, but you're actually scared of being successful. And so you have invariably already created a vision for yourself. That's the vision of staying in that perpetual circle of, I don't want to call it poverty, I'll call it being suboptimal. The second part is actually also the failure, the fear of failure. And that's the fear that, if I come up with a vision and then I tell people I want to do so, and then I fail, what will happen? They will laugh at me. They'll be ridiculed. And because of that, you don't try. And you see this, unfortunately, sometimes we teach that to our kids at a very tender age. They want to do something, they want to speak a new language, they're still picking up the language. Every baby learns the language of the parents. They learn it. If you take your child and you give birth to the child in Nigeria, when they are 2-3 months, you move them to China, they're going to pick up Chinese. They will speak Mandarin very, very comfortably, and they can't speak Yoruba. But when the child is picking up a language, they are not going to speak it properly. Then we laugh at them. We mock them. So what do? They stop speaking it. They're picking up mathematics, they're going to make mistakes, and we mock them. And so people become very scared of failure, forgetting that failure is actually the real ingredient of success. The only way you actually become successful is by failing. Failing tells you how not to do it, so that you can do it well the next time. So that's the second reason why people don't want to come up with a vision. The other reason why people don't do that is, if you stay in that space long enough, you don't have belief in the possibility of a future different from what you know. I do a lot of work with kids from my village. I have about 22 of them that I'm mentoring. Some of them have passed through school now. And 3 of them actually became my colleagues before I left my last place of employment. So I picked them up from when they were in primary school, paid their school fees, mentored them through university. Paying their school fees was the smallest part of it. It was the mentoring them, the talking to them consistently, telling them that you are not. The village you're from is the village my dad was from, is the village I am from, but you don't have to live in the village permanently. You can be this, and growing them through university, trying to give them a quality of life that is far above what they would have gotten if they struggled through it. Just trying to raise their standard to the point where by the time they were leaving school, they were confident enough to go and write the entrance exam and pass it. And I didn't influence it in any way. And these 3 of them became my colleagues. For the last 3 years of my staying in that firm, we were colleagues. But when I look back at when I just met them, if I had asked them then to paint a picture of what they could be in just 10 years, and 10 years goes so fast, none of them would have told me that they would be leading a team of civil engineers building the biggest refinery in Africa. How? There's no way that guy would have painted that vision. But today he's leading a team of engineers building one of the biggest refineries in the world. None of them would have told me that he's going to be a computer engineer working with top-notch computers on computer-based solutions for the biggest refinery in the world. How would he have seen that? He can't see that vision. Even if you painted it for him, he wouldn't believe it. So it's impossible for him to do that. So you need somebody to help you. The other reason is also, I don't want to talk about laziness, but laziness is crucial. People do become lazy. And when I say laziness, I'm talking about the fact that they don't want to put in the energy required to do the work that will deliver the vision.
Taking the action.
So because they just simply are not willing to, put in that energy, put in the struggle, put in the grind, they don't bother to start. And then obviously, the one I talked about earlier, when you are in your comfort zone, it is so comfortable. To move out of your comfort zone is hard work. Sometimes you need somebody to literally kick you out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone is very, very comfortable, but growth doesn't happen there. Growth doesn't happen in that space. So that is part of the reason. But the one that worries me most, and I say it worries me most because I see it a lot in our young people, is short-termism. It is hard for you to convince somebody that the vision is only for an appointed time. The fact that you can visualize doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. You have to, by definition, you have to delay gratification. The vision is for your appointed time. If you cannot wait out the process and allow time to work for you, it is very, very possible that you can actually uproot the seed before it begins to grow. So that's short-termism, and if there's anything that worries me about the young people that I mentor, it's that short-termism. Not understanding that time is only time that can see out and grow a true long-term vision. Vision by definition has to be long-term. If you're short-term about it, it's impossible. And then obviously, if we're not long-term about it, the hunger would die. And once the hunger dies, the vision would die.
What's your advice to people who, have fear, have, all the hindrances are there. They wake up every day and they already have fear for success, just like you say. For some people, they have big ambitions, but no action. For some people, the courage to take the next steps. What strategies can they deploy to ensure they begin to?
Okay, I'm not going to speak. I'm not by any chance giving the privilege of an expert in this space. I'm sharing this more from many of the things that I did wrong, that I didn't do right, and that I struggled with. And that some of them I still struggle with myself. And then some of the things that I wish I knew when I was much younger. There are a few habits that would really go a long way to help you. One is the one I said earlier. Start off by writing it down. Write it down. Make it clear. Stay with it. And then very vividly, constantly visualize it. I've told the story about my home, place I live in now. And my wife can confirm this story to you. We were living at Alara Street, near Sabo, Yaba. And my wife would tell you very clearly, I had a very vivid image of the home we are living in now before we even knew it existed. I could visualize the living room. I knew I knew it was going to be sparse. I knew it was going to be full of artwork. I hadn't even started collecting artwork at that time. I knew it would not have any electronics except the TV panel on the wall. Everything will be controlled by a control panel in somewhere very remote in the house. I knew the gate would be electronic. I'm talking about my kid wasn't born. I'm talking about 22 years ago. And I was living in a flat. Now, I didn't have any money at that point. I had no money to buy a house. But I had a clear idea of what I wanted to have. And so, unerringly, as I would say, and I've said it many times in my courses, when you have a clear vision, all the elements in the world work together to deliver that vision. You attract, okay? I think it's called cyber. Well, it's a law of attraction. There's a word for it. I think it's called cybernetics. I think that's the phrase for it. It's called cybernetics. You attract the things that you are constantly thinking about. It's not magic. It's there. But you need to have that clarity of vision. It has to be so clear that it just dominates your thoughts. The other thing I would like to then put in is you don't need to put the habit around that makes it come to life. First of all, you have to then live your life along those intentions. The first one, obviously, is get some rest. Doesn't sound very intuitive, does it? But it is. You absolutely need to realize that because your vision is long-term, your body must be long-term. So you must find time to rest, to decompress, so that you can re-energize and go back to the vision. It's absolutely crucial. And then, I know we're going to talk about this because I think it's absolutely crucial. You must surround yourself with the right relationships.
Relationships really matter. What kind of relationships should we have if we're going to live an intentional life?
What kinds of relationships should one have? I think we should start off by what kinds of goals should you have? We've said you should write down your vision, you should write down your goal, but for you to have the right relationship, the goal must be right. If your goal is limited to, I want to be this, I want to have that, it's me. Those goals will never drive you. They will never push you to excellence. You need to have a goal that is bigger than you. Something that encompasses the community you live in, your nation, people that you support, the good that you want to bring to mankind. Your goal must be bigger than you because that is when you do need to draw the energy required to deliver such a big goal. And that is why when things would invariably get rough, as they will get rough, you can keep going because you find that your needs as a person after a certain stage are minimal. And if you're only driven by your need, it also means that your energy will fizzle out at that point. But when your goal is bigger than you,
that's need.
But you will never be able to meet the bigger need because you constantly will be driven by this other bigger goal. And that keeps you going. That keeps you more creative. That keeps you seeking out relationships that will help you push the borders. And even when you think you are achieving, the vision grows by itself and that drives you. And that sustains you. And guess what? Let me say, that actually keeps you alive. Because so long as you have purpose and you're driving, your physical body might age, but you won't age as a person. And that then takes you to the kinds of relationships you should have. Okay? I think the first one is you do need a relationship that would constantly grow you. Okay? And I think the kinds of relationship, the relationship that really constantly grows you is someone or a set of people who you can call your mentors. Those relationships are crucial. These are people that grow you. They are constantly challenging you. They are constantly pushing you. They are constantly making sure that you remain true to the goals you've set. Your mentors are absolutely crucial. The second set of relationships you need are people that would demand candor. You need candor because you need to be true to your purpose. The people that will be always candid with you, they will always tell you exactly how you're faring. Those are your accountability partners. They would tell you, Hussein, yes, I was defending you there. I was talking about how great you were doing, but that was because we're in public. Now the door is shut. You messed up, Hussein. I expected so much better from you. They would rip you apart. They would tear you apart, even though in a public space, they will support you with their life. But you know, even while they're supporting you, you can see from the set of their teeth that these guys are going to chew me out once the door is closed. You need that. You need those people in your corner. You need those kinds of accountability partners. And that kind of relationship must be seated on the way I would describe relationship generally. The kinds of relationships you look for. They must be open. They must be honest. They must be confident around you. It must be in a relationship of interdependence. The power distance shouldn't be too much between you. There must be respect and there must be open communication. Those are the kind of relationships we want. Now, if you've got your mentors and you've got your accountability partners, you need your cheerleaders. These are the people that would hail you and celebrate you when things are going very, very well. But they will also hail you and celebrate you when things are not going well. They would be there in your space. They will tell you, yes. Yes, you may have come second or third there, but I'm very proud of you. You can come first, but this second and third is something to be really celebrated. Come, let me take you out. And while you're still feeling bad that, okay, you aren't the best, they're like, no. In my world, you're still the best. You need your cheerleaders. You absolutely need your cheerleaders. It's crucial. The third set of people you need, and a lot of people don't take this very seriously, is because you need resilience on this journey. You need people who are going to make you strong, not just physically, but also in your spirit. Because the body is just chemistry. It's just chemistry. What really drives you, what is powering this engine, is your spirit. And therefore, you need people who will keep you strong in that space. And those are your spiritual leaders. And the people who would make sure that you stay connected to your source. They make sure that you never get too busy to remember that, hey, you're not here of your own accord. You're not doing this by your own ability. God is keeping you alive. God is giving you strength. He's giving you creativity. He's the one giving you the witty inventions that you go out and speak about, and people are like, wow, it's God that gives all that to you. Your spiritual leaders are the ones who keep you in that space. They keep you very strong. They keep your inner mind constantly refreshed with the word. If you've got your spiritual leaders backing you up, keeping you strong and driving your resilience, you've got your cheerleaders constantly supporting you. Your spouse typically should be your number one cheerleader. You've got the guys who are your accountability partners, okay, who are constantly telling you the truth. You've got your mentors who are constantly driving your growth. Hey, you're set to go.
People coming behind you.
Your mentees?
Mentees, what's their role?
Well, let me speak for myself. When I have tough decisions to make about my career choices, for example, or about a risk that I want to take, my mentees are a very definite part of the consideration. If you've got well over 20 young kids depending on you, you're not going to be frivolous. And you're not going to be unthinking or calculated in the decisions you take, because you know that the moment you've raised the hope of these ones up, that they can be so, that you can be that you're going to support them through this, it has become an obligation. So your mentees keep you grounded. They become your responsibility. They are, by all intents and purposes, they are your kids. They are your children. So my mentees give me joy when I see them succeeding. They worry me when I see them struggling with some bad habits. They motivate me to do a little more when I think that they're falling short. And they make me feel good when I see them come out nice. Same thing for my kids. All of the people that God has blessed us with and God has given to us or entrusted to us to be responsible for, they help keep you grounded. They help motivate you and keep you going even when you feel, oh, enough of this, I want to give up, I really don't need all this stress. But when you remember them, they keep you going.
Fantastic. But this has been so deep. All right. The group of people feel that they can't make any change. They can't live their life of purpose anymore. They believe age is no longer on their side. They are, in their minds, they can't make the change. They can't make the change at all. They're at crossroads. What advice can you give to this kind of people? What should they do?
Well over 90% of the harm we do to ourselves as people, it's in the mind. Well over 90% of the harm that happens to mankind that we cause ourselves in the course of our life is in our thinking. And that's why a lot of the teaching, a lot of the opportunity I have to engage with people, I always find a way to script into my lectures, script into my courses, script into my interactions with people, things that enable them to see how the mind works and encourage them from the mind. The truth of the matter is that man was built to be efficacious. We cause things to be. We create things. There's no such thing as until you die, until the breath goes out of your body, there's no such thing as I can no longer be, I cannot create, I cannot make things. It doesn't exist. Even if the entire body is crippled, so long as you are alive, you can cause a ripple effect to start off that will be felt thousands of miles away from you. Guess what? It could be something as mundane as you're smiling at somebody when they are just about to give up. But your whole body you're totally paralyzed, nothing can move, your leg can't move. But the fact that that smile danced across your face, danced across your eyes, danced across your lips, and that child or that spouse sees that smile, they draw an energy to go out to the world and change the world. That ripple started from you. It's as simple as that. So when people tell me that they can't, what are you talking about? The moment that you're still alive. But the converse is also true. If you dwell in that space long enough and you say you can't, you are not useful, I'll just say just lie down because you're dead already. So I would encourage anybody, so long as you're still taking the breath of life, I can tell you with full certainty that you are definitely able to cause things to be. All you need to do is just get up and say, what do I enjoy doing? Go and do it. If all you do is enjoy singing, just start singing. It is in the course of singing and enjoying yourself that someone would say, come and sing at my wedding. If all you enjoy doing is cooking, just go and start whipping up the best dishes possible. Enjoy serving people. And it is someone that's just come and eat in your place. Say, hey, guess what? You can just do that egg pan koko for my party. Don't do the old dishes. I just want you to do egg pan koko only because the meal I tasted in your house is fantastic. Here you were feeling all down and depressed. But because you love cooking egg pan koko, you did one and someone came to visit you, you give them a plate and you're like, I don't want you to cook the dishes, just do egg pan koko for me at my wedding. And that single egg pan koko that I served at that wedding could alter the trajectory of not just your life, but in fact the entire wedding.
Stop. Might say, I don't have the experience. You're saying all of these things. I don't have that experience at all to do the things I want to do. or somebody's not giving me that chance to do the thing that.
Let me backtrack slightly. I try very hard not to personalize interview sessions and all that. But I'm sitting down here in front of them. Many of you already know. Many of my speakers already know. I was born in Shita, Surrey. My background is not exactly silver spoon. It's far from silver spoon, as a matter of fact. My role models, the people I looked up to for the kind of life I wanted to live, were people who played football in CMS Grammar School, Bariga. I grew up in Bariga. You don't have an idea about the depth of the potential in you until those relationships I spoke about, when you make the effort to develop those relationships will show you that you are more than who you are, who you think you are. They would open your eyes. I don't have any experience with any of the things I'm talking about. I don't have experience talking in public. I don't have experience leading teams. Till I had children, I had no experience bringing up children. I had no experience driving a car till I drove a car. We all don't have experience, but we go at it. We learn at it. We get better at it. We enjoy doing it. And by the way, that's something we don't do a lot. We don't enjoy learning. We enjoy doing it. And then, after a while, somebody then talks to you and say, oh, you have experience doing this. So when you say you don't have experience, I laugh. We all don't have experience. Experience is not a requirement for you to live life intentionally. Experience comes with the living of life intentionally. So you don't need experience. You just need to do the things you enjoy doing. And when you do it persistently, consistently, then one day somebody will look at and say, hey, you have experience doing this. So don't worry too much about experience or not having experience. Just make sure that you're doing the things you enjoy doing. You're putting in your absolute best to do the best at every time, and you're constantly improving that best. It is in your place of service that you find purpose. It is in your place of service that you find purpose. When you're doing it consistently, you're doing it with your all, you're putting in your best. After a while, someone will say, hey, when it comes to making ekpan koko, every other meals you can go to anybody else. But when it comes to doing ekpan koko, find Hussein. And there you found purpose.
In 2023, or in this year, we're encouraging people to live intentionally. Can you give us quick hacks, quick tips that people can go to or hold on to as they journey through the year?
You know why I don't like hacks? When people give me hacks, it sounds as if they're saying, give me the magic formula that I will just wave and everything will fall into place. I don't think there are any magic hacks as such. But if you're asking me about some of the things I think we should focus on for 2023, I think the first one I would say, it's not very intuitive, but I've said it in many of the lectures I've had so far around the visioning boards I've delivered, is that we've come through, particularly those of us living in Nigeria, we've come through some very tough times in the last 3-4 years. There's been so many challenges thrown at the common man in the last 3-4 years. Whether you're talking about the pandemic, you're talking about insecurity, you're talking about inflation, and these have had very terrible consequences for the smallest unit of a nation, the family. So if you ask me that what should people focus on for 2023, the first thing I will ask them to do is focus on your mental health. You need to be alive. And your overall well-being should be your priority for 2023. And the primary thing that I would say you focus on in building that well-being is sleep. the vast majority of Nigerians who live in the urban cities do not sleep. They lie down on their bed, but they don't sleep. They're either thinking about the next deal, they're thinking about their debts, or they're thinking about, they just got back from work at 11 o'clock, they're worried about traffic at 4 a.m. So they're thinking about how they can wake up early enough to beat the traffic to go to work so they can come back exhausted to beat the traffic again. And then there's also the pressures of the finances and all that in an economy that is struggling. So what I would ask you to do in 2023 is, these problems will always be there. Don't worry too much. The problems are not running away. They are waiting for you. Take time off to rest. Sleep. Let your body recover. Let your well-being be secure. Let's be sure that you're mentally healthy to face the challenges. That for me is hack number 1. Number 2 would be exercise. Find time to exercise. Because I teach about many quadrants of life. I talk about your finances, your relationship, talk about your spirituality. Health is one of the quadrants I talk about that I say people should take seriously. You see, if any of all those other quadrants, your finances, your relationship, career, all those other quadrants, if your health quadrant fails, all those other quadrants become irrelevant. They become totally irrelevant if your health quadrant fails. So I'll ask people, if you want, you're asking me for a hack, after sleeping and recovering, exercise. And then the last bit of it is be mindful of what you take into your system, the food you're eating. Okay? And be mindful of the drama you allow to be around you. If you find people who are constantly causing unnecessary drama around you, just delete them. Delete them off your contacts, delete them off your social media. If it's a relationship that you can delete, just delete them. You should not tolerate unnecessary drama around you in 2023 so that you can be healthy. Once you're done with that and you're healthy, you're sound, your well-being is okay, if that is all you achieve in 2023, I am happy. That will be my number 1 act, my number 2 act, and number 3 act. If you still want me to give you other lists, then I can talk about other things. But for me, the only thing I want Nigerians or people reading this post or people listening to this podcast to focus on, if you ask me, is focus on yourself. Focus on yourself.
For you to live intentionally, start with yourself, focus on yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you for being so patient. I hope this blesses somebody, and I hope these thoughts are really useful. I'm so happy to have been a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
To everyone, I know and I believe that in this year, you will take steps to live intentionally, because living intentionally is a life of purpose, and it brings fulfillment and gives you a life of significance that you're living for yourself and for everyone else. Thank
you very much.
you.